Mr. Umesh Kumar, who's the founder of the Interia. Huge round of applause, please. If I could please have Umesh sir join us on stage. Thank you, sir. Ms. Sonali Bhagwati, who's the design partner at DPA. Sonali, please do us the honor by joining us on stage. Mr. Dikshu Kukreja, Managing Principal of CP Kukreja Architects. Welcome, sir. It's a pleasure to have you. And moderating what promises to be a very insightful discussion is once again Mr. Prashant V. Singh, editor at etnow.in and etnow.Swadesh, who you just heard from. Prashant will have you back on stage to take us to this conversation with visionaries who are quite literally building the face of modern India. Thank you so much, Prashant. And with that, the floor is yours. Take it away, Prashant.
Very, very warm welcome once again. So I want to start this conversation by a very layman question. What do you think, how important interior part is for a common home buyer?
I want to start when I was studying architecture and soon after I even graduated. During that whole period, somehow interiors were very looked down on. It was not somehow considered to be serious enough for an architect, and it was only people who were on the periphery were doing interiors. And I have seen this change over the last almost 30 years and transform into an extremely professional, well-structured discipline. It's not only just interiors, it's actually crafting spaces. So we no longer call it interior design, it is actually interior architecture. So that's where the importance of any interior lies, because it's no longer just a slapping on finishes in a space designed by an architect. It is enhancing and taking forward a space which is designed and giving it the life, soul, character, and I would say personality of the user.
Okay. So when it comes to home buying, so I have seen the most important part of is the delivery, the possession. But I have seen many people saying that they have given contracts to many interior designers, but not getting the timely delivery. Do you think a regulation like RERA is also needed for interior design?
Well, first of all, my thoughts on interior designing would be that really architecture and interior designing for me are two sides of the same coin, and I don't think we can really put them in the silos that 20th century modern architecture has allowed to be done. If you look at any great building in the past, the experience of space, whether it was from the outside or the inside, actually blended. One blended into the other. So, but coming specifically to your aspect, I mean, I think, there are two ways to look at design. One is that you can sort of cast it within all kinds of conditions and then expect excellence to happen. And the other way to look at it is that design is a creative profession, and it is something which needs to be certainly within the bounds of cost, budget, or time and quality. But as long as those three fundamentals are defined in a systematic manner, I don't think we need to go beyond that, because there is no limit to how much you want to hold a condition, and there's no guarantee to putting restrictions or putting some kind of contractual aspects is going to result in the success of a project. So I'm one who believes that there are things which need to be committed and then adhered to, and not every aspect of design needs to be contractually bound.
Okay. So, do you think dream home is incomplete without dream interior? Dream home.
Absolutely. I think to add to what Sonali just said, it is an expression of somebody's personality. It is an expression of how somebody wants to live and use their spaces. Importantly, if I have to put this in a nutshell, it is like a building or a house. It's like a skeletal. It's like bare bones. Interiors is actually putting a skin on it. It is what defines that personality. So it's like, you can imagine, let's say Aishwarya Rai. What makes Aishwarya Rai what she is? It is the skin which is there, right? It is the top form and the shape. That's what interior is, if I have to just use that analogy.
I want to add something to what Dikshu said. That today interiors is no longer, as he said, in a silo. Designer is not the mom and pop of everything. Today the designer is as important or as responsible as the industry partners. We learn every day from our industry partners, and I think a lot of credit of what we as architects and designers do needs to go to them, because but for them we would not know what is happening in the world and how to integrate things into what we do. So I think industry partners are equally, I would say, responsible to the entire quantum shift that has happened in the expression of interiors.
And to that, I would add that when Sonali talks about partners, I think one very important partner in the architecture and interior design space, particularly in our country, is the media. And I'm saying that not because I'm sitting at a media platform, but I think one very important aspect in India which is still missing is that we are lacking how to decipher design, how to appreciate design, and for that I don't blame the society or a typical client unless they are well informed, unless they realize the pros and cons of any design approach or what good design means. You can't expect anything better. So I think that's where media plays a very important role. So many of us appreciate designs in other parts of the world, be it the oriental side of Japan or the Far East, or it's the Western countries, or Scandinavian design, or Italian design, etc., etc. But I, for one, believe that Indian design is perhaps unparalleled. It's just that we need to go out there with that conviction, and media can play a big role, like you're doing right now, in letting people get to know about what good design is all about.
So Indian models need to go global.
Yes.
Indian models need to go global.
Indian models of design, not the other ones that were being referred to, but
Models
yes,
of design,
certainly
okay.
of design, sure.
No, not only Indian designers, models need to go global. I think what is very important is that a lot of Indian designers are also experimenting using traditional crafts into creating very contemporary, modern day usage products, designs, and ID, and also part of architecture. And I think these are the kind of things that need to be acknowledged and be put out in the media, put out to the world. And it's only then that there will be proper acknowledgement for this.
With conviction, as you said.
Yeah, with conviction.
Yeah.
And really, like Sonali is saying, and she's touched upon a very important point, which is craftsmanship. I mean, how many parts of the world can boast of craftsmanship and design? And in India, we've had it for centuries. And Indian design, I would say, has been so sensitive, so responsible, so sustainable. If you look at our old buildings, whenever we visit any part of the country, when you visit, you see the buildings are so climatically sensitive. So I think those are very important aspects of design, and craftsmanship has played a big role in that, both in the architecture and the interior space.
No, I think what Dikshu is saying, touching upon our traditional architecture and traditional built form, there was a traditional built form which was based on very sound principles. And that vernacular architecture has been our first teacher of sustainability. If we go back and actually look at our heritage, we can learn a great deal about low energy and sustainability, and which has now taken a full turn and come back into our lives. And now we are doing everything that possible to, get into this field. If you take our urban form, there used to be this urban form, let's say Old Delhi. It had this urban form which was primarily a mixed-use development. If you saw, the main roads had the commercial spaces, and then the semi-public and the semi-private, and then the private spaces. People lived above the shops. So this was a very, very low energy, because you walked to work, you walked to your marketplace, everything was walkable. And this was like the best model. And today, after going through the colonial approach of individual buildings standing in land parcels, we are now going back to creating mixed-use developments, and I would say mixed-use precincts, which are there to emulate the same vibrancy and the same approach that our old cities had, but always with a new approach in terms of whether we are infusing technology or whether it has to take care of certain densities. Yes, all that is today's requirement. But the essential functioning is going back to what we used to be in the good old days.
Yeah, I would like to add one more point to besides what Sonali and Dikshu has said, which is about how India is evolving in terms of design, in the field of design, be it fashion, be it art, be it literature. We have seen flowering of Indians coming forward and making a global presence across the field. We are beginning to see that happening in the course of in the field of interior design as well. It's only now that we feel much more confident. We are ready to now experiment with new shapes and forms and designs and make it for the globe. It's not just copying from the West. Italy is not the only fashion capital. I think we are at the stage where we should make our mark and we should make our presence felt in the global arena.
So now I want to understand perspective from all of you, how this has changed, specifically interior, post-COVID. Because now people are spending more time with their family, kids, relatives at home. So how this has changed, and what have you personally witnessed post-COVID?
Pre-COVID, we used to talk of office spaces saying it needs to be more like home. Okay? Then during COVID, we started talking about home spaces which needed to be more like office. But now we have come to a situation where everything has gone back. It is not that people are spending more time. In fact, it's the other way. People are going out. People want to, experience the city, everything around them, travel. They want to do everything, and everything with a vengeance. May it be weddings, may it be travel, may it be eating out, it may be, shopping. It is every single activity has gone into an overdrive. And that's what it has been, So there has been this great emergence of, I would say, very, very well-designed, high-design, marketplaces, mixed-use areas, obviously luxury homes, lots of public amenities in homes, in condominiums, which is what has made these condominiums. I mean, half the condominiums today are selling because of the fabulous public amenities which are being offered. So that has been this quantum shift over the last 7-8 years.
You take.
I would add to what has been said. I completely endorse that. But also, I think one other element that's really taken shape, if you compare pre-COVID to post-COVID, is that generally now people talk about and are more aware of health and well-being. So whether it's your office space or whether it's your homes or hotels, etc., people have started looking at that aspect. And that aspect I see percolating not only in the final product, but also in the materials that are being selected. So basically in the design and construction process as well, people pay attention to health and well-being, which I think has been a positive move because it's acknowledging the presence of human beings, whether they are the ones who are constructing your buildings or eventually the ones who are inhabiting them. So that's one more element or dimension I think that's emerged more than what one saw pre-COVID.
You're right, because the whole concept of well, along with sustainability, till now it was sustainability, but in the last 4-5 years, the concept of well has come in, which means the happiness of the user. It is not just the well-being, but the happiness quotient.
You think so?
Yeah, one of the things I've noticed post-COVID is, before COVID, it was primarily the women who were driving the interior agenda. You know, they were the ones who are, you know, making the design selections and driving the whole thing. But post-COVID, we have seen increased interest from the man of the house himself. People actually who were spending more time in the office, they were not so concerned with the home. They were not really that involved in the home affairs. So we are seeing increased interest from the male members of the household also to exhibit and drive and carry on with the equal interest. So that's one of the things we have noticed post-COVID. But importantly, we don't know whether there's no relation to the COVID per se, but what we have seen in the near past is that people are becoming much bolder to experiment, be it because of the influence of the Instagram, be it because of, you know, all the social media, Instagram, Pinterest, all of it, because the exposure is a lot higher today than it was, let's say, a couple of years back. And people are being inspired and they want to emulate whatever they see around them happening, whether it's in India or globally. So that's, I mean, we have seen that happening. Like one of the examples would be that one of our clients came to us and he said, look, we are, as a family of 3, we are fond of dancing. We want to create a dance floor in our living room. So we have a huge mirror and a big dance floor with a piano sitting on top, because they want to play, you know, for them it's like very peaceful, very serene kind of a thing. If they want to, when they want to retire, they would like to play piano, you know. So like that. So we're getting very interesting demands from the people, and they're willing to experiment.
So you spoke about exposure and experiments. What I have noticed in many campaigns, many editorials, many advertisements on expressways, people are now experimenting with theme-based. So what's your views on this, theme-based? Some royal theme, some Buddhism theme, some other theme?
Personally, I feel that it is more of a marketing gimmick, because each developer needs to be different. From the theme is Japanese. Now, whether it's Buddhist, Japanese, Thai, whatever, at the end of it, it still needs to be very comfortable for the user. It needs to ensure that all the requirements that any user would have are satisfied. The flooring, the walls, everything is the way it would last. It's got to be very well detailed, whichever theme you want to follow. So personally, if you ask me, a lot of the people who come to inhabit these apartments do not have things themselves to honor that theme. So to call it a theme-based would only apply to a few of the public areas. Within a home, within a dwelling unit, I cannot see where the theme would take a user, unless the user themselves come back to say we want to design our home on a theme basis.
The theme I was talking about the larger area, for example, parks, I mean other areas of the society.
Yeah, so they do that. I mean, in the sense that they call it a bit theme-based, where there may be some reference to materials or certain kind of details or certain design elements to embody a certain kind of theme or I would say a design language. But at the end of the day, it has to still feel extremely comfortable. It has to feel good. And I mean, you may do a very Japanese minimalistic, but if it doesn't make an Indian user comfortable and make them feel warm, it won't work. So whatever you may say, it has to still impact the well factor of the user. And that will also depend a lot on the cultural background, the socio-cultural and economic background that the person comes from. So there can't be one solution to all. There are different strokes for different folks.
What's your opinion?
So for me, this concept of theme-based architecture, especially theme-based real estate community, group housing projects, as we say, I think it's very superficial. And I don't think that's really the depth with which you are looking at what a healthy, vibrant community can be all about. These are superficial things. They are stylistic sort of interventions. And I think to create a vibrant society, to create a great community or a great real estate development, you need to go deeper than that. So for me, these are not the best of ideas, because at the end of the day, let's remember, we are looking at creating communities which bring people from diverse cultures, diverse parts of the country. And people have their own practices, their own customs, their own ways of living. And to club them all into a Buddhist living or a Japanese living or any others, let's say Californian living, Mediterranean living, I don't think that makes any sense at all. I think what we should look at, or a good developer should look at, is that what is the true need of the people that will be coming there? What are the ways that he can demonstrate that he or she are creating that project for the people? And I think that in itself is a solid way to go about designing. I don't believe in this idea.
Your opinion, please.
Yeah, I fully agree with what Sonali and what Dikshu said. Theme in the context of a condominium, in the context of a building, a lot of times it can be a marketing gimmick. It may not really have much deeper meaning into it. It's just a way of differentiating yourself and being able to sell what you have. So it is from that. But from the end consumer perspective, I think theme plays a very, very important role. In the context of interiors, it becomes very important, because today people are free to express. They find that boldness to express, and they would like to experience with different themes. And let me tell you, today, because of thanks to social media again, there are themes which you may have never heard of also. People come up with saying, "Mere ko ye theme chahiye." Recently, I had a client who came to me, and this is not a common term that somebody will use for theme. He says, "Oh, I want brutalist theme." I said, "Fine, can you please describe your idea of brutalist to me?" Yeah, he says it's raw concrete forms and minimalistic and this and that. I said, "Okay." And this is how most of the restaurants are being done today. I said, "Okay, I get it. I am familiar with the theme." Okay. So now, if you, to a common person, brutalist is not something which is known. Maybe not even 1% people will know what brutalist architecture or brutalist theme is. But that person came up with that idea because his son is studying somewhere in design, and he came up with this, Dad, we're going to have this theme. So theme from an interior perspective is, I think, extremely, extremely critical. In other context, I think it's just a packaging part.
So there is a buzzword these days, AI. So is this helping anyway to architects and designers when it comes to interior?
Absolutely. It's not a buzzword. I would say both in the architecture and interior space, AI is... so for me, it's not a sort of a earth shaker that, some doomsday sort of people come forward and think that the profession is going to head it into some kind of jeopardy because of this technology. For me, it's precisely a technology, and even more than a technology, it's a tool. It's a tool which will allow us to sort of envision better, to create better, and to be able to produce better. but it's and just the way when computers came in, and just the way different softwares came into the computer world. So AI is a game changer in many ways. I don't deny that. It's a great tool, a fantastic tool, which allows you to think far more, far quicker than before. And we have embraced it both in architecture and interiors. And yeah, I think it's the way the world is going to move too. But it's certainly not something that should worry us.
No, in fact, if you ask me, AI, I completely endorse what Dikshu says. And AI to me is got to be a tool and not your master. It cannot tell you what you need to do as a design. It needs to help you create that design in a faster, more efficient, and a smoother manner. And that's what it should be. Not creating the design for you, but helping you create it.
Absolutely. I mean, AI is not going to replace an architect. AI is not going to replace a designer. But the designers and the architects using AI will definitely replace the ones who are not. AI is a fantastic tool. I think Tushar spoke to at great length about AI and how it is helping him in the business and how quickly he can turn out, multiple options, multiple design options, click of a button. I think AI is here. AI is still in our industry. AI still is in nascent stage, but while being in nascent stage, still quite powerful. It's quite magical. I've experienced that, I've experimented with that, and it's something mind-boggling. Going forward, it is going to become only more and more precise. Right now, what we're doing, we're just experimenting with AI to kind of develop some concepts or see how differently we can experiment very, very quickly and see how the spaces look with the help of AI. But it's not that precise. You cannot depend on that. Or a lot of times it may just waste your time also. But going forward, the way it is progressing, rest assured that AI is going to be very, very powerful, and it is a must-have for any designer or any architect.
So, sustainable designing, what's your view on these? Sustainability?
I think today we should not be talking of sustainable design because that should be a part and parcel of our lives, of everything that we do. And it should not be a topic. It should be integrated with everything that you use, everything that you sort of envisage. Needs to have that background. It needs to keep in mind whether you call it the cradle to grave cycle or how is that material going to be reused or what is the life of that material. There are lots of things, but I think it's just part and parcel of your whole design process now. Even when architecture is concerned, whether you look at passive measures, you look at active measures, it's just a design process. So we don't even talk about it anymore. It's just that most of our projects are all either certifiable or certified. So it's just that. In fact, one of our projects, which we did way back in 2000, got certified 10 years later without even consulting us because it just followed good design practices. So that's what sustainability is all about.
So I think sustainability is a phenomena that we are talking about today because it's been driven into our country today, more from the Western media and just a general awareness. But actually, if you see anywhere in the world, historically, and you compare Indian architecture with whatever the Egyptians did or the Chinese did or any other civilization did, Indian architecture was the most sustainable. You travel around the country, you see our old monuments, you see our old forts, palaces, even homes that are designed, whether it's in the northeast or whether it's in the western part of the country, north to south, anywhere, it's always been sustainable design. It's just that my own feeling about it is that post-independence, when we were searching for a new modern identity in architecture, we looked towards the West. And we kind of just probably fell in love with it or fell in awe of it. And therefore, we started building the BKCs and the cyber cities and all the rest of it, which certainly are unsustainable. And now it's been a full circle, and we are talking about it, and we are reading about it, and we are learning more about it. But like Sonali has said, I think it's been really part of our DNA. It is part of our life, and in every aspect, we need to embrace it if we haven't done so yet. And I think most Indian architects, when I see their works today, it's very responsible work people are doing from a sustainability angle. So I think the knowledge in India has been, like I said, in generations before. And even today, the modern architects, what they are doing, they are creating sustainable design. But yes, the awareness of it probably needs to percolate more into society so that these misconceptions of a green building being more expensive or the capex being more, and therefore you forget the operational side of it, the operational costs of it, all these things we need to now overcome and enlighten ourselves that sustainability is there to stay.
Yeah, so sustainable designs, I think, is been in the past, like I said, and is part of our DNA, and becoming more popular because of the carbon emissions or the concern about carbon emissions. Residential and commercial buildings, they are one of the largest contributors to carbon emissions today. More than 30% of carbon emissions comes from the residential and commercial buildings. It is definitely a huge cause of concern, and there is a global forums and concerted effort which is moving in that direction. So the need of the hour is actually to have self-sustaining building. There is no doubt about it. India, by the way, India is doing pretty recently in that direction, because in the US global green building rankings, it has been consistently third in that ranking in terms of LEED certified spaces. And in terms of self-sustenance, we're talking about energy self-sufficiency. We're talking about making your buildings moving in the direction of smart automation, right? And we can take some leaf out of it. Of course, we can learn from the past, whatever good practices we have had in the past, but we can also take a leaf out of it from what's happening in the West. I don't think we should shy away from doing that. And one of the examples I have gone through is this building in the US, which is Unisphere, by the name Unisphere. It's actually belongs to a therapeutic company, and it's a net zero building. And that has gone into a lot of first. I mean, this building harnesses, of course, the solar power, but also in addition to that, it also harnesses the geothermal power. They have dug up 50 wells, 500 feet under the ground to harness that geothermal power. They have created a quarter of a mile kind of a concrete structure below the atrium to naturally keep the atrium cool and being, on top of that, their building is completely digitalized, right? So they have all the information, energy information, or on all parameters at their fingertips in real time. I think we have to, if you really want to move into the Viksit Bharat by 2047, I think we have to move very, very fast. Learn from the past, but still look at what is around us globally and go for the best.
Okay. So one final thing. What is your top tip for the people who are going to buy their dream home? Just one line from each of you, one by one, starting with you, ma'am.
A green home is something first that the entire development has to be green. So it's not just an interior, it's not just the home, it is the entire development. And the home is just one sort of cog in it. So if the condominium is designed to be sustainable, which has passive measures and active measures, I think it automatically comes. I live in a condominium which is LEED certified. There are challenges, but it's something that we have to deal with. So I don't think it impacts the person so much, except for maybe in terms of energy bills. But I think it is more on an overall basis that it makes a difference. So it's not a dream green home, but it's being in a green community, more importantly.
Prashant, did you say a green home or a dream home?
Dream home.
Green.
Dream.
That's what I thought. Yeah. No, but I would say your dream
But she
home should
blended
be
the
a green
both.
home.
But
so-
she blended the both, dream home and green home as well.
Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, your dream home should be your green home because it should actually be something where you have the correct certifications and all to make sure that it's green. But in terms of a dream home, I would say honestly, different people have different aspirations, different dreams. So not everyone can have the similar dream home. But what it should cover is your basic functional aspects. So for anybody, dreams can vary, but what your needs of shelter are, your home should go by, your purchase or your choice of home should go by that. It should not go by themes and the rest of the things we were talking about, but more deeper aspect of meeting your basic necessity of what your shelter desires to be.
Yeah, so of course, apart from facilities and apart from maybe smart automation, those aspects, functional aspects, which a condominium can offer, right? You'll evaluate on those parameters. But I think having gone through multiple such options and making a choice, what is important is how that space makes you feel. How do you experience that space? I think that's the most critical one. After some basic requirements and basic parameters have been met, that's the most critical aspect, how you should choose a home. Because in some sense, it is a reflection of who you are, and definitely you're going to be staying there for a long time, you're going to be interacting with people a long time in that condominium, so how it makes you feel is absolutely critical.
So green home is always a dream home, as you said.
So it is, of course. And I think what is really important for a dream home is the fact that the community in which you live has to be very synergetic to you. I think that's what makes community living and your home into a dream home. And as far as the unit is concerned, I think each one's personality needs to be reflected to create that dream home, because the same apartment for different people will be completely different.
Correct. Thank you so much for great insights. Thank you so much. Time is running out. We have to wrap up. Thank you so much. Thank you all the audience for the support. Thank you.
Thank you once again. If our panelists could please remain on stage for a token of our appreciation. If I could please ask Pooja Sethi, who's the managing editor of Times Network Digital, to do the honors in acknowledging all of our panelists once again for what was an extremely insightful discussion. Thank you so much. Umesh, Sonali, Dikshu, and led by Prashant, of course. A colorful conversation with a lot of insights. Huge round of applause once more, please, for all of our speakers. A photo up to capture the moment, of course. Thank you so much. Thank you once again. Thank you once again.